So as you may have heard, the decision was made to yet again cancel this year's E3 festivities. This is most likely down to two major reasons. One, the world is still in a state of panic over what's been happening the last couple of years, and two, E3 has started to become less and less relevant over a longer period than that. More so since every major developer decided to start doing their own online presentations, perhaps seeing it as a more viable and cost-effective option than everyone squeezing into a small building one weekend every year. And since E3 has decided to take it easy this time round, hoping to come back stronger than ever in 2023, it looks like we'll be continuing the trend of checking out the new batch of gaming goodies from our computer monitors at home. Which makes no difference to me since I haven't left my house in years and natural sunlight does weird things to me. I think you know the drill by now, only covering stuff that interests me, not looking at every presentation, etc, etc, etc. So with that said, let's begin this year's E3, but not actually E3, but we're still going to call it an E3 showcase. Yeah, I think that works as a title. We're actually going to start a week before the usual E3 festivities, since Sony decided to host one of its State of Play videos ahead of everyone else. Pretty bold move for Sony, considering that traditionally the first company out of the gate doesn't tend to do that well. I have to admit that I was fooled by the first trailer as an acoustic guitar riff started playing, and I immediately thought, no, they can't be announcing The Last of Us Part 3 now, right? Well, more for me, because it was in fact an announcement that a Resident Evil 4 remake is on its way. There was no real gameplay to speak of. We did get a few cutscenes showing some familiar settings now fully realised in modern graphics, with perhaps a few hints at some changes to the story, and a penciled in release date of March 24th, 2023. It's nice that this game seems to be getting the same treatment as 2 and 3 before it. Apparently there will also be some PSVR 2 content coming as well, which leads nicely into some talk about upcoming PSVR 2 games, including ports of Resident Evil 8 and No Man's Sky, a new Walking Dead Saints and Sinners game, and a Horizon VR game entitled Call of the Mountain, which features so much climbing, exciting combat, and gorgeous looking visuals, you'll briefly forget that your hands are attached to your body. Elsewhere there was a trailer for Street Fighter 6 that definitely raised an eyebrow for me. So far only 4 characters have been officially announced: veterans Chun-Li and Ryu, returning fighter Luke, and newcomer Jamie. And while we did get to see a brief demo of the game's combat system, the most interesting part of this trailer featured Luke free running around a city, suggesting that there will be an open world aspect to this game. I know it's a trend nowadays for fighting games to feature a robust story mode, but it seems like Street Fighter 6 is taking it to the next level. Though if I can ask Capcom to do just one little thing, it would be to make sure you finish the game first before you release it. Elsewhere we got to see games like Rollerdrome, which combines a third-person shooter with half-pipe roller skating in a stylish manner, the Callisto Project, an atmospheric space horror that appears to be Dead Space in all but name, more footage from Stray that shows off some of the stealth and platforming mechanics, as well as more from our adorable feline protagonist, and Season: A Letter to the Future, a slice-of-life game centered on a girl traveling around on her bike, taking photos, recording the sounds of nature, and just exploring the world and listening to the tales of those who inhabit it. The half-hour presentation came to an end with Naoki Yoshida bringing us some long-awaited news for Final Fantasy XVI. From the looks of it, the combat system continues to build upon what was already seen in Final Fantasy XV and VII Remake, although I can't help but feel that there might be some influences from the Dynasty Warriors series incorporated as well. There also appears to be one-on-one battles included, and even the familiar summons, known here as Acons, duking it out with each other as well, set to arrive sometime next summer. This was actually a pretty good showing from Sony. Plenty of big announcements with a decent amount of gameplay thrown in for good measure, all in a very breezy 30-minute showcase. Good job, Sony. The treats keep coming as now we have the Limited Run Games team up earlier than usual to show us their latest offerings. However, instead of the usual mock stage presentation, they called in some help from the guys at Mega 64 to create a loving parody of old full-motion video games from the late 90s, specifically spoofing titles like Corpse Killer and Night Trap. They've really gone out of their way to recreate the feel of an FMV game. A pixelated video that mimics the poor display quality, actors awkwardly talking to the camera when addressing the player, shooting sections complete with drawn-out deaths of the enemies being shot, and even one part that's a straight-up send-up of Night Trap's main mechanics. A surprisingly high amount of effort has been put into this compared with previous years, and it is very much appreciated. Amongst the games up for physical releases on this year's docket include classic titles like Doom 64, Shantae, Star Wars KOTOR 2 and Glover, indie favourites like Undermine, Garden Story and Tetris Effect, a slew of remastered collections from the likes of Bill & Ted, Shadowrun and A Boy and His Blob, and brand new titles like Blossom Tales 2, The Minotaur Prince, Bat, Bloodsucker Anti-Terror Squad, and one of the most 80s inspired games I've ever seen in my life, Spider Saws. There's even a few old FMV games thrown into the mix, including first-person boxing game Prize Fighter, Plumbers Don't Wear Ties with a bunch of additional features added, and a never-before-released game called American Hero. But perhaps the biggest news is that every physical copy of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge bought through limited run games will also come with the chance to claim a free personal pan pizza from Pizza Hut. Not only that, but there's also going to be a VHS-style classic edition that comes with a steelbook, and an ultimate collector's edition that comes with a strategy guide, miniature arcade replica, and an exclusive Shredder action figure courtesy of Playmates Toys. I don't know what to say, I'm just shell-shocked. It seems that as ever, these absolute mad lads are once again doing what they do best, being a bunch of goofy, nerdy dorks and having fun with it. It's great to see just how far they've come in such a short time. Hell, they've even opened up their own retail store in North Carolina, packed to the brim with so much retro gaming goodness. I hear that Scrunt is their bestseller. Moving right along, we now take a look at the kickoff show to Summer Game Fest, the AEW to E3's WWE. WWE 3? Once again, Jeff Keighley is our master of ceremonies, as he takes us on a whirlwind tour of some of the biggest games coming soon from publishers from around the world. And he's not alone, as many of those publishers and a few surprise guests show up frequently to talk about their latest projects. Like Troy Baker and Roger Clark, who star in a new game from an independent studio, Fort Solace, a sci-fi thriller set in a space station on Mars where eerie things are starting to happen, and it's up to the player to unravel the mystery before it's too late. In fact, the first half hour of the show was heavily front-loaded with sci-fi games, as we got more details on the Callisto project, with an extended trailer and gameplay sections that showed off combat mechanics and a lot more gore and violence, Flashback 2, a sequel to the classic game released over 30 years ago, and Routine, which looks to build upon the claustrophobic stealth horror elements that fans will be more familiar with from Alien Isolation. Away from the realms of space, we have Metal Hellsinger, a fast-paced first-person shooter rhythm game that has you blasting your way through demons to the beat of heavy metal masterpieces composed by some of the biggest artists of the genre. The Quarry is an interactive drama horror game from publisher Supermassive Games and is a spiritual successor to Until Dawn. With tension-filled encounters, multiple endings, and a gripping story helmed by an all-star cast, this looks to be a must-have for all horror fans. If only because I've never been more terrified of Jocks of the Mighty in all my life. High Water is an upcoming adventure strategy game that puts an oddly colourful spin on the usual post-apocalyptic narrative, as you explore a flooded world ravaged by climate change, meeting fellow survivors, scavenging derelict buildings, and outmaneuvering deadly scavengers as you try to escape your aquatic fate. American Arcadia takes the Truman Show reality TV concept to the next level. You play as Trevor, a man unaware that his entire life is being broadcast live to a global audience, and equally unaware that a drop in his popularity may result in his death. Let's hope that he can discover the truth about what's going on before the viewers decide to cancel him. More news from TMNT's Shredder's Revenge with 3 major bombshells. First, there's the reveal that Casey Jones will in fact be a playable character. Then there's the news that the game will allow up to 6 players in both local and online play, and just to round things off, they announced the release date to be June 16th, which means that technically the game is out now. Future editor me, was it any good? Awesome, or bummer, depending on what was said. Towards the end, Neil Druckmann from Naughty Dog was brought out to talk some Last of Us news, which included some light jokes about the leaks before the show, hints of a standalone multiplayer title set in the same world, an update on the Last of Us TV show on HBO, which will feature appearances from stars of the game Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, and bring a light to the rumours that The Last of Us Part 1 is being remade from the ground up and heading to the PS5. Nothing on a potential Part 3, but we'll assume that will come when they confirm the PlayStation 6 is in development. The Summer Game Fest kickoff show was a little bit underwhelming, honestly. Sure, there were a plentiful amount of new announcements to the point where you got sick and tired of the phrase world premiere, and Jeff's usual enthusiasm, especially when talking to developers, just continues to shine through. Though I have to say that the rest of the show felt a bit underwhelming in comparison. Lots of generic CGI trailers with no gameplay. Heck, Aliens Dark Descent only showed a few brief snippets of gameplay at the end of their trailer and I almost missed it. And even some of the interviews just didn't appeal to me because I'm just not interested in Warframe or Call of Duty. Plus the runtime ended up going over 2 hours, and that's just too much for me. I still get flashbacks to that 3-hour-long EA presentation from a few years ago. So a decent show overall, but bad pacing and a lengthy runtime just leaves a sour taste in the mouth. Oh, and there was also some guy called Dwayne Johnson showing off his gym and promoting his new movie Black Adam. I'll be perfectly honest, not the Johnson I was most excited to see. No I don't. Shut up! As a change of pace this year, and because EA and Ubisoft decided that their time would be better spent sitting on their thumbs, let's check out what IGN's Summer of Gaming has to offer. Much like the Summer Game Fest, they had a bunch of other presentations running throughout the week, but again, to keep things simple, I'm only going to be covering their opening expo, which is hosted by presenters Damon Hatfield and... Nas? Okay. The show seems to be focused mostly on games available through Steam, with many of them having free demos available right now. Here are just a few that caught my interest. In The Unliving, you take on the role of a powerful necromancer, travelling through a series of procedurally generated levels, resurrecting an army of the dead from the bodies of your fallen enemies, and laying waste to anyone foolish enough to stand in your way. It has some wonderfully detailed pixel art and a frantically paced style of combat. Could be worth looking out for. Forever Skies has you piloting your own airship, sailing through a dystopian wasteland. Explore the wreckage of derelict buildings, discover new items and bizarre creatures, and use the salvage you find in order to maintain your ship and keep it afloat. Blockbuster is a VR game that I think we've all wanted at some point in our lives. The ability to step into the body of a giant kaiju monster, and stomp and thrash our way through a thriving metropolis. Knocking down towering skyscrapers, hurling debris at fighter planes, and snarfing up countless civilians, this game looks set to bring out the monster inside us all. The Aquapocalypse has begun in the world of Ship of Fools. Gather your friends and set sail across dangerous waters in search of uncharted lands and hidden treasures whilst battling creatures of the deep, and sometimes each other. I don't think I could say anything more about gory cuddly carnage than what the trailer itself says. There's a cat, on a hoverboard, that kills evil unicorns. I think that sentence alone should probably tell you whether or not this is the type of game for you. Have you ever wanted to play a World War II inspired real-time strategy game, but instead of controlling humans, you're playing as rats with realistic human bodies? If you have, then please seek help, but also Rat and Reich just might be right up your alley. Orcs is a tower defense cum deck building game, where you gather various cards with different abilities to help you build your defenses and protect your kingdom from the relentless hordes bearing down upon you. Like playing Carcassonne with your table on fire? That doesn't sound safe at all. Take a classic beat-em-up series to the era of the Han Dynasty with River City Saga: Three Kingdoms. Battle your way through the warring states of ancient China, with 24 playable characters either solo or up to 4 players in co-op in this rather unique take on the Romance of the Three Kingdoms story. God, Zhang Jiao looks like such a nerd. In Vice Undercover, you take on the role of a hacker in the 80s, breaking into the mainframes of some major corporations and uncovering the lies and secrets behind an illegal cartel, sometimes making choices that aren't exactly within the limits of the law. The overall show was a rather simple affair, but an effective one at that. There wasn't anything too flashy or extravagant, just a series of game trailers one after the other, with the presenters occasionally popping up with a brief recap. It was also very well organised, as the games were broken down into sections based on their genre, from horror to retro to action to crafting and survival. It makes for a very neat and organised showcase. Like I said, simple yet effective. Thanks IGN, maybe I'll check you out again next year. Okay, now let's chill out for a bit with a return to the Wholesome Games Direct, a showcase of independently developed games that present some alternative, more laid-back experiences to the usual fast-paced, action-filled kind you see from AAA titles. These can come from a small development team with a unique mindset, or just one individual with a unique idea bursting to get out. Here's just a small sample of some of the games on show this year. Terra Nil introduces you to a land practically devoid of life, and it's up to you to bring it back. Place wind turbines, generators, and recycling plants, and watch as bit by bit the forests, rivers, coral, and and the nature of life itself return to the world. In Mika and the Witch's Mountain, you take control of the young witch herself as you fly around on your witch's broom, delivering packages, solving puzzles, and taking in the majestic sights of the island in this delightful free-roaming adventure. Free Ride takes a new spin on a modern RPG trope by presenting a hidden personality test, one not judged on whether you're good or evil, and will leave you guessing which decision you make will affect the results. For those wanting a game reminiscent of the Paper Mario series, Paper Animal RPG might just catch your interest. Explore an ever-changing world that's different with each playthrough, meet and get to know a wide cast of cute and colourful characters, and use their unique abilities to strategically outwit your foes on your journey to track down the missing king, Sir Barrington. You know I've got to talk about this one. Frogon is a 3D platformer collectathon where you use a frog as a grappling gun to help you traverse tricky levels. The game looks like it was pulled straight from the PlayStation 1 Nintendo 64 era. Looks like a lot of fun. Here's a blast from the past. Snufkin, Melody of Moomin Valley is a game based on the classic Moomin comics and novels, which sees the title character Snufkin, a vagabond with a deep connection to nature, set off on a cozy, music-themed adventure across Moomin Valley filled with soothing tunes, a lovely novel-accurate art style, and a little bit of mischief. The residents of Moonbury need your help in Potion Permit. Diagnose the symptoms of each patient, gather the necessary ingredients from the surrounding woodlands, and brew the correct potion that will cure their illnesses in this open-ended RPG. It's always a delight to get these little samples of the interesting and creative ideas from the minds of such talented individuals. You won't see the bigger companies often come up with such imaginative ideas like feeding monsters via a line puzzle game, a dating sim based on kaiju destroying national landmarks, houses that produce different tunes depending on where you place them, or literally folding and tearing the world around you in order to progress. I only wish we got more time to spend with these games, as it feels like these directs tend to rush through them all too quickly. But then again, with so many wonderful and inspiring titles available, it's hard to shine a spotlight on every single one of them. We're just spoiled for choice here, and I can't wait to see what's in store next year. Now we come to the Future Game Show. Games Radar presents the Future Game Show, which this year is being powered by Phenomena. Our hosts this time around are voice actors Doug Cockle and Denise Go, who are most well known for playing Geralt and Yennefer in the Witcher series of games, which explains why they have such good chemistry with each other. All of the games on this year's show will be making their way to Steam, and you can wishlist them now via the Future Games Show Steam page. Here is a few of my personal highlights. Ever wanted to explore a multitude of worlds? Nightingale might just have the solution. Use the magical materials you find out in the wilds to craft realm cards that you can use to open portals connecting to other realms. There are so many environments, resources and creatures for you to discover and encounter, and hopefully this concept is legally distinct from another similar multiversal property out there. Turbo Golf Racing is basically Rocket League, but instead of playing football, you're playing golf. That's pretty much all you need to know to understand what kind of game this is. So if you're looking for the wild, chaotic mayhem of Rocket League, but with more free-roaming, missile-toting madness, then keep your eyes out for this one. I'm only really talking about this next game because of its puntastic name. Tray Racers, did you get it? Because it sounds like Ray Trace, is the latest title from the creators of Fogs. Grab your tray and dive headfirst into a series of desert-themed downhill races, complete with customizable characters, wacky and wild obstacles, and online multiplayer racing. The Entropy Center is a first-person puzzle platformer that puts you on a space station orbiting Earth, which is currently burning like a sun. Use your time manipulation device, that also talks to you, to rebuild and manipulate objects, solve mind-bending puzzles, and ultimately return Earth to its natural state. The mind of a child can be a powerful thing. Lost in Play follows two siblings as they journey through a world of their own creation, in a puzzle adventure where the only limits are your imagination. If you're a fan of TV shows like Gravity Falls, you should definitely keep this one on your thoughts. With all the different simulators out there, this one was bound to show up at some point. In Brewmaster, Beer Brewing Simulator, you brew your own beer. Customize your workspace, gather and ferment your ingredients, and get creative in order to make the first quenching beverage you've been dreaming of. For those who have been missing the Pikmin series, Tidykin provides a nice alternative. control a veritable army of these resourceful little creatures, and utilize their unique abilities to solve puzzles and find items as you explore a complex world set within someone's home. Power World is your typical Pokemon-style open-world game, where you'll hunt down cute and colourful creatures and shoot them with guns? And once you capture them, you use them as weapons? Oh god. Oh dear. Okay, so maybe there's a bit more to this game than I realized. Oh god, what are you doing with that Piplup?
Oh my.
Mixed in with everything are a couple of developer showcases from Quali and Team 17, as well as a virtual show floor highlighting a few choice games that have free demos available right now on Steam. But the thing that grabbed me the most from this year's show is the section on games from the Ukraine, particularly in how it was preempted by footage and accounts from developers who are continuing to work on their passion projects despite the horrifying conflict happening in their country. If there's anything that you should take away from this presentation, it's to be on the lookout for titles like Puzzles for Clef, Zero Losses, This Rain Will Never End, Farlanders, and Through the Nightmares, and show your support for the Ukrainian developers during their country's worst time. It's the second year in a row for the joint Xbox and Bethesda showcase. Just like last year, they're promoting the heck out of Game Pass, with just about every game on show set to be added to the service. And what's more, every game featured is expected to be released within the next 12 months. This also includes a multitude of titles from Riot Games, including League of Legends, Teamfight Tactics, Legends of Runeterra, and Valorant, along with all their unlockable content available from the start. Last year they closed off the show with the reveal of Redfall, so this year they're opening up with the same game for a more in-depth analysis. Along with getting to know a bit about our four main characters and their individual skills, we also get more of an idea of how the game will play out. It looks to be a team-based open-world game where stealth and coordination will be essential when dealing with the troves of vampires and whatever supernatural horrors await. The Microsoft Flight Simulator franchise is turning 40 years old this year, and to celebrate, the latest installment in the series is adding helicopters, gliders, and a bunch of legendary aircrafts, including the Spirit of St. Louis and the original Wright Brothers plane. Kind of disappointing that they didn't do a tie-in with the new Top Gun movie. It seems like the perfect opportunity. Guess we'll just have to settle for the Pelican from the Halo series as a free add-on instead. Oh well. Now we have an appearance from Blizzard Entertainment, the first time since the company was purchased by Microsoft for what I can only assume to them is chump change. They were here to show off some new gameplay for Overwatch 2. While featuring the same frenetic, fast-paced gameplay we're all familiar with, we get an animation introducing a new character, the news that it will be free to play, and the further news that early access will be available this October. As Dusk Falls is an interactive story-driven title that can be played with up to 8 players. With a self-proclaimed British TV show writing style, a unique motion graphic novel aesthetic, and a deep story with multiple different paths and outcomes, there's no telling what twists and turns await the lives of these far from perfect human beings. Elsewhere we learned that Grounded is finally coming out of early access, Forza Horizon 5 is getting some Hot Wheels content, the Persona series is heading to Game Pass, with Persona 5 Royal arriving first in October, and Hideo Kojima shows up to say that he is working with Xbox Game Studios to create a brand new game, one that has never been seen or experienced before. Knowing Kojima, it could be practically anything, but will most likely involve a lot of walking. Finally, we get an extended look at Bethesda's new title, Starfield. The best way I can describe it is like combining Fallout with No Man's Sky. You'll travel to different planets, scanning the local fauna and mining materials, and engaging in combat with the various space pirates and hostile aliens you encounter, both on solid ground and in the depths of space. There's also going to be an incredibly robust creation suite, allowing you to meticulously design your character, build outposts, and you can even create your own. Bethesda are really pushing the boat out with this game, though there is a fear that they may be a bit too ambitious, especially considering that they claim that you can explore entire planets in a vast open galaxy. This is Bethesda we're talking about here, so maybe approach this with extreme caution. Also, Todd, where's Elder Scrolls 6 at? Yeah, like I said, extreme caution. Xbox has a certain corporate feel to their shows, like they're making a presentation to their investors. But it's hard not to get excited by what they're working on, so maybe I can buy a bit more into their businessman-like approach. By the way, Xbox, please stop introducing celebrities into your games. Vin Diesel in Ark is cool and all, but come on, you'll never top Keanu Reeves, so stop trying, okay?
You're breathtaking!
I said stop it! Well, I think that's everything. So, in conclusion, Well, where the heck have you been? Everyone else was done weeks ago and now you show up? Okay, whatever. At least you're here now so we can wrap up properly. I just hope you've shown up with something good and not like, say, a mini part of the showcase or something. Why do you hate us, Nintendo? Okay, I am exaggerating a bit here. I know a traditional Direct is what we've all been hoping for, but at least Nintendo is giving us something, even if they are only focusing on third-party developers. And at least it's a half hour long and not just 8 minutes. Though after the length of some of these shows, I'd probably welcome that. First, there was some news about Monster Hunter Rise, concerning the pending release of the Sunbreak expansion, as a series of free updates are set to release in the near future. It's really cool that the game is receiving this level of support, as it's proving to be very popular among the fanbase. Super Bomberman R2 is in the works, and we get a preview of one of the new game modes, Castle Mode, where a team of players work together to hunt down treasure chests, while another player tries to stop them by setting up defences and blockades. This is essentially a level creator for Bomberman, and it makes so much sense for him to have one. Most of his levels are just a simple grid anyways, so there could be plenty of room for creativity. The mighty pirate Guybrush Threepwood is back in a brand new Monkey Island adventure, featuring a new art style that admittedly may take some getting used to, and references and callbacks to the series at large. Grab your cutlasses and set sail as we prepare for the return to Monkey Island. Technically, Ubisoft does make an appearance in this year's showcase as we get a closer look at Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. The new news is that instead of wandering into set battles, enemies are shown on the map and you can run into them to start an encounter. During battle, you can freely move around your movement range before you fire your weapon, meaning that you can carefully plan out and coordinate your attacks. You can even slide dash into the bombs to set them off, and then throw them into your enemies for massive damage. Plus, Bowser is joining the fight as well? How is it that this guy can go from conquering the galaxy in one game to saving it in another? Elsewhere on the show, we got announcements for a remake of Pac-Man World called Pac-Man World Repack, a release date for multi-era RPG Live Alive, with a demo available now that lets you transfer your progress into the full game, Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection, comprising of 10 games from the Battle Network series, a Switch port of Nier Automata, the End of Yorha edition, complete with all previously released content as well as new content exclusive to the Switch version, and just as they were signing off, Nintendo's final announcement was that the Persona series of games are heading to the Switch, which on the one hand is a really cool thing and these games seem perfect for the console, but we did already learn that they were also headed to Xbox, and it's not really the strongest note to end your presentation on. So I'm going to talk a bit about Sonic Frontiers instead. There were a few trailers released by IGN and Sega a few weeks prior, but they were met with some criticism from Sonic fans. We'll leave it to Nintendo to show off their old rival in the best light possible. Sonic Frontiers takes the blue blur into the open zone genre, as you can freely explore the wonders of Starfall Islands, encountering new and deadly enemies and engaging in battle by unleashing devastating combos and skills. Discover the hidden cyberspace zone and complete challenges in classic Sonic-themed levels, and work to uncover the mystery behind the sudden disappearance of your friends. I am hyped as all hell for this game, it's gonna be so much fun. Well, Nintendo, that was actually really good. A lot better than I and other people gave it credit for. It is a shame that we didn't get to see any first-party titles from the big end themselves, and the long wait kind of soured our expectations. But in the end, they pulled through with the goods, and perhaps later in the year we'll get that proper Direct that we wanted. Okay, is that everything? Are we done now? Finally. Well, another year of gaming presentations is in the books. As ever, it was a usual blend of returning favourites, surprise newcomers, future sleeper hits, and moments of, oh yeah, that's still a thing. And it was only after I got done watching the last show that I came to a realisation. We need E3 back next year. Not because it would help to give all these companies some form of structure, although it would be nice if everyone could not spread themselves throughout the entire month, but because E3 offers up so much more than just a place for everyone to show off what they've been working on. It's like an annual event in the same vein as, say, Glastonbury, the Super Bowl, or WrestleMania weekend, where developers, publishers, journalists, and fans can all gather together in a celebration of their favourite pastime. As simple as it may be to have someone stand in front of a green screen or hear a disembodied voice rattling on about the newest releases, You just don't get that personal touch or atmospheric feel that you would when that person is on stage in front of a live crowd. Yes, even the surprise celebrity appearances have more impact when they're done in person. I'm not saying that every company needs to do this, as some are probably better off with their current format, but the last couple of years have shown that while it is possible to do a completely online presentation, you just don't get that same kind of raw energy and excitement that comes from a real live crowd. Maybe this is what E3 is planning to do in the future. With the world now returning to a state of normalcy after a few years of madness, let's hope that 2023 marks the big return to E3 that we are all hoping for. Oh, yeah, I need to decide a winner for this year, don't I? I'll give it to Sony this year, because theirs was an easy breezy showcase, and also, I want to pet the kitty so bad.